Alright, so we're going to work through the Chapter 6 practice tests, and those are the topics. Most of this chapter is on operations with functions, and a function is when every x is allowed to have only one y, or each input has only one output. Then we talk specifically about a lot of radical functions, so square roots, cube roots, and things like that, and also how to solve equations. So those are the topics, and we'll start with section 6.1. Okay, so 6.1 is on operations with functions, and really all you need to do here is just take that function, which is g of n is that right there, and add that function to it. H of n is 4n plus 3. The like terms are 3n plus 4n, which equals 7n, and we still have that plus 3, and that's as simplified as we can make it. Alright, when we are subtracting, it's the same idea. So f of n is this right here, n cubed minus 2n. That is the function f of n, minus, and then we have to subtract g of n. G of n needs to go in parentheses though, because we're subtracting the entire thing. Then we distribute this negative. This is generally where people would make a mistake. They would just do something like this. They would do minus 3n plus 3, but you need to be subtracting that entire thing. So when you distribute the negative, you have minus 3n, and then minus the positive 3 would be minus 3. And you have n cubed minus 2n minus 3n is minus 5n, and then that should be a minus 3 right there, and that is a simplified version. Let's just check to see if we got it, and we did. Okay, that's adding and subtracting. How do you multiply? You multiply by doing, this would be g of t. Actually, I'm going to use x instead of t, because t's tend to look like plus signs. It really doesn't matter what variable you use. So there's g of x, and this will be h of x. Just change these so it doesn't confuse people. Those are going to be x's there. So h of x is the function x squared minus 3x, and then we just FOIL this out. So 3x times x squared is 3x cubed. 3x times negative 3x is minus 9x squared. 1 times x squared is x squared. And 1 times minus 3x is minus 3x. And the only terms that we can combine are minus 9x squared plus 1x squared. That would be minus 8x squared. We still have that minus 3x right there. Last one is division. So g of x divided by h of x would be 4x. That right there is g of x over x cubed plus 2x. That right there is h of x. There's only one thing we can simplify here. These on the bottom have a common factor of x, so we could write 4x over x, and then if we pull out an x from each of these, x cubed divided by x is x squared, 2x divided by x is 2, and then these x's will cancel, and that leaves us with 4 over x squared plus 2. Alright, these ones are a little bit trickier. This is called function composition, and what this basically means is in this parentheses needs to go that function right there, because that's the h of a function. So g of h of a means g of a minus 5. And that means wherever I see an a in that function, which I see an a right there, it's going to get replaced with this. It's going to get replaced with a minus 5. So now if we distribute 3 times a is 3a, 3 times minus 5 is minus 15. And then we add that 1 that was outside. So we get 3a minus 15 plus 1 is minus 14. And that's the simplified answer. Okay, same thing right here. H of g of x means h of, well, this is the function g of x, so negative x plus 4. That means wherever I see an x, which I see an x right there, x was being squared, and then 5 was subtracted from it. Now, instead of x being squared, negative x minus 4 will be squared. So how do you square negative x minus 4? You FOIL it out. We still have that minus 5 there. Negative x times negative x is x squared. Negative x times negative 4 is plus 4x. This inside term will also be plus 4x. And then negative 4 times negative 4 is plus 16. And here's the last answer. X squared plus 4x is plus 8x. 16 minus 5 is positive 11. So that is the simplified answer for that one, number 6. Alright, number 7 and 8. This is a little bit easier. It's the same as what we just did, but now we need to find what g of negative 1 is. So let's do that right here. G of negative 1 means that wherever I see an x, sorry, there's no x there, right here. Wherever I see an x, I need to plug in negative 1, and then I'm going to take that number and use it in the other function. The negative 1 squared is 1, plus 4 is 5. This thing will be positive 2. So 5 plus positive 2 is 7. So now that is what goes in here. Remember, we were trying to find g of negative 1. We found it. It's 7. So now we take 7 and we plug it into this function. So we get 7 minus 2, and that is equal to 5, which is the answer to that question. Okay, same thing over here. So right here we're going to have g of h of 2, and of course the question is, what is h of 2? So let's find out. H of 2 means I see an x there, I'm going to plug in 2, and then 2 minus 3 is negative 1, so that's what goes right here. So g of negative 1 means in this function, wherever I see an x, I'm going to plug in negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1, that's negative 1 cubed is negative 1. 2 times negative 1 is minus 2, so negative 1 minus 2 would be negative 3, and there's the answer. In the next video we will talk about 6.2, which is how to find the inverse of a function.